Family, good morning. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. It is Tuesday. It is December 9th. This is Wake Up Bama, and this is absolutely loaded. All right, so we're going to lead off talking about Damien Harris. He don't want Bama in the playoffs. I'm going to explain why. We're going to go over a stat update after Alabama has played 13 games. 13 games. We still got more college football left. Thank goodness. I'm going to go over some mind-blowing rushing stats. I'm telling you, when I show you these rushing stats and when I discuss them, you are going to be floored. I promise you. The Seattle Seahawks football coach, Mike Macdonald, his quote heard round the world. This was a couple days ago, and I think he was targeting Ryan Grubb. I'm gonna go over that. I have a question for you. Do you think that Ty Simpson comes back? And let's look at it a couple different ways. Do you think if the season was to end today, like this was over, would Ty Simpson come back, or has he done enough to go to the NFL? Gonna also hit on some first round odds and talk a little bit of Heisman. The Final Four were announced. And then I have something to say about Notre Dame on the back end of the program. All right, so welcome to Wake Up Bama, and thank you so much. Damien Harris had this to say. And first of all, Damien Harris does a great job. He's a great analyst, great delivery for CBS. And I'm not gassing anybody up. He does a good job, right? Did a good job here as a running back. And he said this: I know I'm supposed to say I have confidence in Alabama. I played there, but I don't have confidence in Alabama. Alabama peaked in weeks 3, 8, whatever it was, and they don't look the part right now. I think a lot of people were saying that. I think a lot of people feel that. And I was talking on my program on Monday, is like, what is giving you the most anxiety about Alabama football right now getting into the playoffs? And I think a lot of people are just like, yo, they don't look like a playoff team. They don't. And if you judge on how they played against Georgia, do you really want that team into the playoffs? Right? Because we don't want to be embarrassed. I think Alabama football fans, to be honest, are still kind of healing from that beatdown they took back in week 1 against Florida State. That was just embarrassing. Also, could you imagine if Oklahoma is able to beat Alabama for a third consecutive time? Like, that's a no-no. I still look to Oklahoma as a Big 12 team. Okay, I haven't fully embraced them as an SEC team. So to have Oklahoma pumping their chest after beating Alabama 3 consecutive times, I just wouldn't feel that. Can you imagine if Coach Kalen DeBoer, he has all these amazing stats, but he's 0-3 against Brett Venables? I don't think we'd like that. So Damien Harris is against Alabama making it because how they have been playing as of late. But the thing is, Alabama made the playoffs not because of some underground world of keeping Alabama in. Bama, Nick Saban was getting them in. The truth is, Alabama fit the playoff principles. I went through them, right? My job is to be honest with you. I went through the principles, and their resume spoke for itself. Now, are we judging a team off how they played one game? Because there was a lot of teams that lost games. And there was a lot of teams that ended well. There was a lot of teams that didn't end well, right? But based off the criteria, and hate it or love it, this team fit all the principles, specifically with the strength of schedule, right? Like they were number 8, and they had 4 wins against top 25 teams. Shoot, think about it like this. Alabama beat the SEC champ, Georgia. Georgia has 1 loss. 1 loss this season. It came to Bama. Way back when, but they did. They beat them. And that's a lot better than other teams could say. BYU, what could you say? Well, we lost to Texas Tech twice. Congratulations. Good luck in the Pop-Tart Bowl, okay? But not a lot of teams can say what Alabama can say collectively. Now, did they look like a playoff team against Georgia? Hell no. They didn't. So hopefully they get healthy and they start playing like a playoff team again. All right? So that's kind of where we're at this point in time. And I think why I have a little bit of confidence right now on Tuesday, December 9th, is because I know that Alabama's defense will show up. They've shown up since the early part of the season. And I think, call me crazy, but Alabama's defense, I think, has the edge against Oklahoma's offense. they made him look mid last time. We'll talk about the game more over the next, 11 days, but that's how I feel. Okay. I want to talk to you about some mind-blowing stats, okay? So the mind-blowing stats are really the rushing stats, but here's a look at Alabama's overall stats. I'll just read them off, right? And then on my show at 10, I'll have all the fancy graphics. But just listen. Ty Simpson in 13 games finished with 3,268 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Completion percentage was 64%. That's pretty good, to be honest. I'll talk about Fernando Mendoza at the end of the program, just hit on him real quickly, but here are his stats. 2,900 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Ty Simpson's stats, he actually has better stats than Fernando Mendoza. I know that they are what they are, okay? Jam Miller, 123 carries, and I know he didn't play all, the games, but still, he's Alabama's leading running back in terms of rushing yards, 493 yards with 3 touchdowns. That's crazy because I'm about to show you some stats that will blow your mind from the running backs from 2025 to 2017. Jerry Bernard leading the team after 13 games, 57 catches, 762 yards. Even that seems kind of mid. I thought we'd have 2,000-yard receivers. Connor Talty, our kicker, 44 of 44 on PATs, 13 of 20 on field goals. That's 65%. Justin Jefferson leads the team in tackles, 67. Yonze Pierre, who wasn't even a starter, leads the team in sacks with 6. And then Bray Hubbard leads the team in interceptions with 4. Okay, that's after 13 games. But the mind-blowing stats are this. Okay, you ready for this? I think that I need to show you the graphic because it is crazy. So I usually don't have the graphics ready for this particular program, but because they're so mind-blowing to me, I think I'm going to do a quick showcase of them real quick. So I appreciate it. And if you want to see, during our 10 a.m. broadcast this morning, I'll go over this in its entirety. But check this out. I'll even go full screen. 2025, this year, right? Jam Miller, just 123 carries for 493 yards. That is just mind-blowing. It's astounding to me, right? Then you're like, okay, well, what happened last year? Well, 2024, 145 carries for 668 yards and 7 touchdowns. And look at the records, too. I put the records in there. I got caught in a time warp, and I started just going into all this. So they're 10-3 right now, 9-4. They don't have a 1,000-yard rusher. Shoot, they didn't rush for 800 yards, okay? 2023, Coach Saban's last year, 12-2, Jace McClellan, right? 180 carries. That's a lot of volume for 890 yards, okay? 2022, Jahmyr Gibbs, they finished 11-2, 151 carries, 926 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Still low on the volume with touchdowns. It seems like we've been getting away from the running game more and more, right? And maybe that's why Alabama hasn't won a national championship since 2020. Okay, so 2021, reached the title game, 13-2. Brian Robinson, 271 carries. Wow, look at that volume. 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns. I may have just cracked the entire puzzle with Alabama football. Look at this. Since whatever happened here, we're not doing the right thing. We're not running the ball, okay? Because, look, in 2020, 13-0, Najee Harris, 251 carries, 1,400 yards, and 26 touchdowns. The year prior, 2019, 11-2, Najee Harris, 209 carries, 1,200 yards, 13 tutties. And then the years before that, in 2018, 2017, Bama's a combined, 27-2, and they're feeding the running back. So, I mean, you look at Damien Harris, he didn't have an overwhelming amount of volume, but still he was close to 1,000 yards in each of those 2 seasons, right? He almost had 2,000 combined yards and, 20 touchdowns within those 2 years. So they ran the ball. But, look at the last, several years. The last 4 years, it's why are we abandoning the running game, or is it has the game changed? Are we trying to evolve with the game? Can teams that run the ball still win the national championship? There we go. That's what we're talking about. So think about this. Answer inside the comment box. Can teams that run the ball, like heavy doses, like I'm talking like 2021, 2020, can teams that run the ball really make a run at this thing? Because I think Ohio State, what they have 2 running backs last year that won the title. I don't have their stats in front of me, but I'm going to pull them up because I'm crazy like that and I need to know. Let's see. Ohio State football stats. I'm just curious. I want to see what Ohio State has. Okay. Because I just told you what we have over here. Yeah, so they have Bo Jackson, who has 1,000 yards off 168 carries. Okay. So kind of around maybe that 22 mark, something like that. But it's interesting to think about, right? It's like, man, what happened? Why did we abandon the run? And you kind of look to the offensive coordinators during that time, what Bill O'Brien, Tommy Rees, Nick Sheridan, Grubb. I don't think a lot of those guys really wanted to pound the rock. They wanted to, throw the ball more. And look, for those of you who are like, you talk about 2021, this is a crazy stat about the 2021 offense, is Brian Robinson had 1,300 yards, right? So you're like, oh, they were more run heavy. No, Bryce Young had 4,700 yards passing that year. 4,700, which is crazy, right? So kind of some takeaways from those numbers because I felt it was like so shocking. And I'm talking the mind-blowing rushing stats right now. It's like it seems that when Alabama had at least 1,000-yard runner, the team was much better in terms of, wins and losses. It seemed like the workload really mattered. I mean, you look at, some of the carries that Najee was able to carry. You look at Brian Robinson, they got a lot of volume. These guys don't get a lot of volume, so it seems. And also, I think one of my bigger takeaways, too, is looking at those numbers. Like Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, those guys had a lot of touchdowns, right? A lot of rushing touchdowns. Think about this. Jam Miller right now only has 3 rushing touchdowns, and I get it. He's been, banged up. But last year, he only had 7. The year before, Jace McClellan had 8. The year before that, 7 for Jahmyr Gibbs. 2021, Brian Robinson had 14. 2020, Najee had 26. Year before that, Najee had 13, right? Not finishing in the end zone. So check this out. There's an interview going around, and if you want to hear it yourself, just type in Mike Macdonald. He's the Seattle Seahawks football coach, right? And he has a viral clip going around, and it was on a radio show that he does on a weekly basis. I'm dead serious. It sounds like he is talking directly to Ryan Grubb. I promise. Have you heard this? All right. I'm going to read it out, okay? This is what he says. Because it sounds like we have some issues with Ryan Grubb. Am I right? Like, it seems like he's definitely underperforming. It seems like we thought he was going to be someone who he's not. I thought he was going to be the best thing since Steve Sarkisian. He's been far from that. And now he's taking a lot of heat, not only from someone like me, but I think from a lot of different people. Right? So anyways, Mike Macdonald, Seahawks coach, says this. And he didn't say Grubb directly, but after I read this quote to you, it kind of seems like he was talking about him. He's like, there's people out there that just call plays. This play is cool. That play is cool. It worked against that team, so let's run it here again. And he's like, you lose my respect by doing that because you don't know why that play worked. All you're doing is grabbing a play that happened to work in a situation and assuming that it's going to work again. But you don't even understand why it worked. Well, guess what? Other teams have film, and they're studying what you did. They get to practice. They're going to fix it. It blows my mind that some teams operate like that. You can't build an identity, and you can't build culture. Yeah, it's a really, really good soundbite. And as, you kind of look at the disconnection that he seemed to have at Seattle, and you look at the disconnection of like what's happening right here. I know I had that, funny clip talking about Ty Simpson making all those changes. Someone pointed out a good fact. They're like, yo, Kyle, they run a 2-play system. Ty goes in and he has 2 plays to choose from. I get it. Yeah, high-level football, you can do that, and I think that's a wonderful point. But like right now, let's just run 1 play. Get 1 play in that fits what we got going on. So if it's like a 3rd and 2, line up and run the ball. That's the play. It's called a 22 dive. Whatever it is. It's like you just load up and you just execute that play and kind of build on that. And then when we get some momentum, then we go back to, loading up Ty. Because either Ty's in his head, there's disconnection here, or I have no idea what's going on. But the offense is not matching the defense, and it's pissing a lot of people off. I think it's making Alabama not play like a playoff team. I think it's could be their demise sooner than later if they don't get this fixed. Now, we've kind of been here before with, a setback. And I don't necessarily call the game against Oklahoma a setback. The game against Florida State seemed like a setback. It was like, we thought we had this and that, and they got completely outplayed, punched in the teeth. This is kind of like this is a different scenario. It's like you just got knocked out. Oklahoma, you just got, self-inflicted wounds. What we're dealing with right now is completely different from each of those things. This is like digging yourself out of a slump and finding an identity, finding something that you can hone in on, whether that's short, intermediate passing, whether that's finding the running game if Jam Miller comes back, whether that's doing something that you can really hang your hat on. Because the defense has found it. The defense just decided, we're going to play with the hair on fire. We're going to come out and smack everybody as hard as we can. We're going to create turnovers. Every once in a while we'll get a quarterback sack, and we're going to be really good in red zone defense when we can. But the offense, man, what's the identity? What is it? Can't run. -3 in the last game, and I get it. A lot of those stats are equated to Ty Simpson running for his life and being sacked. But, what's the identity right now? Can't catch, can't run, drop passes. It looks like miscommunication. Offensive line is not dominating. So, if you're Damien Harris, who's a proud alumni of the University of Alabama, he's probably like, I don't want these guys to go out and get embarrassed because that hurts the brand. So, they got 11 days to fix it as we're right here, okay? Now, as usual, everything kind of comes back to the quarterback position, okay? So I have a question because this stat was just brought up by some NFL draft analysts, and this is regarding Ty Simpson. And my biggest question for you, and please answer inside the comment box, do you think that Ty Simpson comes back for the 2026 season? Yes or no? I personally don't think he does, but now people are starting to point out things, and NFL draft analysts are starting to say things. We went through this a little bit with Jalen Milroe. And remember, Milroe, the worst thing that Jalen Milroe could have ever done in his career was go to that Reese Senior Bowl. I thought that was a terrible decision. And he played terrible. And it was just, everything was bad about it. And then he got drafted in the first round. Ironically, by Mike Macdonald, the Seahawks coach. Right? They also took Robbie Oots. How's Robbie Oots doing, by the way? So anyways, here are what people are saying about Ty Simpson right now. In his last 6 games, Simpson ranks 90th in the country. 120 pass rating, has thrown for 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, completed 58% of his passes, averaged 6.4 per attempt, right? The Athletics' Dane Bugler says that Simpson needs more time in college. That was after the game against Georgia. You also have Todd McShay saying, my stance on him and his NFL potential has not changed, right? My stance has become firm on this, and I thought he needs to go back to school. That's from Todd McShay. These are big-time NFL draft analysts. And I'm thinking, man, I'm like, okay, what does that immediately mean to the quarterback room if he comes back? Well, you know what it means. There is no way in hell, in my opinion, that Keelan Russell and Austin Mack are like, great, bro. We're best friends. Come back. I'm cool here. I'm working on my craft. I'm working on my game. And 2027 is not too long away, right? And then they're like, by the time we're 2027, we'll be chilling. It only takes 1 season at Alabama. I don't think they think like that. I think that Keelan Russell and Austin Mack want to play. They're never going to come out and say it. They just can't, right? It's a team game. They got to do, it's got to be team speak. But you got to think that those guys want to get on the field. You got to think when Alabama's offense right now is struggling. Let me ask you this. Do you think that, since the offense is on the struggle bus, you don't think that Austin in his mind is thinking, man, I know I could have some opportunities to get the offense going. Keelan Russell's like, I could do this. They're never going to hate on Ty, nor should they. They're teammates. But if they were called on, maybe they could start cooking a little bit. And that's going to be up to Ryan Grubb, Kalen DeBoer, when to think about managing this quarterback position. Because right now, we're just going with Ty Simpson all the way down. And they did it last year, too. I know Grubb wasn't here, but we went down the same thing. Even in the bowl game where you could have had opportunities for Ty Simpson, you didn't give him opportunities in that game. Think about that. In the Citrus Bowl, we didn't even see a backup quarterback. We rode Milroe the entire way until we lost. So I just don't think that those guys wait into 2027 if Ty comes back. My prediction is Ty leaves. I think he'll interview well. I think team NFL GMs, and they'll see his athleticism. They'll be able to overlook some of the shortcomings that he has. But the biggest drawback right now, that why I probably wouldn't take Ty early, is his deep ball. He has no deep ball. Like, if, in the NFL, you got to be able to reel it out. You got some vertical threats. You got to be able to get the football down. And if you can't show that you can do that, you're going to take a hit. Right now, deep ball passing for Ty Simpson, how would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10? Like a 3? 2? I don't know. It's not the best, right? All right. Dejoun Lee and Michael Carroll, okay, 2 freshmen recently made the On-3 freshman All-American team. They always say freshmen don't play at Alabama, right? Think about all the freshmen. I could rattle off a bunch of freshmen that have played. Lazier Brooks didn't make it. Caleb Edwards didn't make this All-American team. But Michael Carroll and Dejoun Lee did. Check this out. Michael Carroll, offensive lineman, came in 5-star, right? He's played in 466 snaps. 466 on the offensive line. How about Dejoun Lee? Mustard on the defensive side of the ball. By the way, I saw that he does have a commercial with Mustard. Did you see this? Dejoun Lee has played in 518 snaps this season at corner, right? So they're both on the 2025 On-3 All-American team as freshmen. Love it. All right, college football playoff odds. Alabama 1.5 against Oklahoma. Basically a pick'em game. That's crazy. You got to think that Oklahoma feels so disrespected by that. Plus, Alabama scheduled them for their homecoming game, and we know how that turned out, right? Texas A&M minus 3.5 against Miami. That's going to be an interesting game. Is A&M on upset alert here? Ole Miss minus 17.5 against Tulane. They already beat the brakes off of Tulane. I think they do the same thing. Pete Golding is the head coach. Man, I can't wait to tune in to watch Pete Golding be the head coach. His press conference is going to be fire. Oregon, 21.5 against James Madison. Come on. Tulane and James Madison. How much more interesting, just hear me, how much more interesting would this be? And Ole Miss is taking on Vanderbilt in an SEC first-round matchup. Diego Pavia versus, Pete Golding. What's that going to look like? And how interesting does this sound? And Oregon is going to take on Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame, 10-2, finished the season great. Notre Dame will have to travel to Eugene. They're up for it, right? Those matchups sound so much better, but whatever. Odds to make the championship game, Ohio State minus 110, basically like they're almost a lock. Indiana at plus 105. Can you imagine if the Big Ten wins a championship game again? They got like 3 good teams that can make a run, but then the rest of the conference is like super mid. It'd be like having, 12 Kentuckys, right? And like the teams are like, the top end teams are really good, and then the bottom one teams are like just super, super mid. Bama's odds are plus 950. Not terrible considering how they played. All right, the Heisman Trophy has released the finalist for the award. Fernando Mendoza, minus 1,200, basically a lock to win it. 2,900 yards, 33 touchdowns. Team is 13-0. He has a good deep ball. Ty Simpson's stats are actually better than Fernando Mendoza's, believe it or not, okay? I know the records aren't, but Fernando's thrown 6 interceptions. Ty's thrown 5. Ty's thrown for 3,200 yards. Mendoza's thrown for 2,900. Just saying. Diego Pavia at plus 600, 3,200 yards, and all the crazy things that he's done, right? Like nobody in the world would have thought that Vanderbilt would be doing what they're doing, right? This is like a mini story. Remember when Johnny Manziel built Texas A&M? Diego Pavia is doing that on a micro scale with Vanderbilt. By the way, they just got the top-rated quarterback in the country. And then Julian Sain and Jeremiah Love. Julian Sain, of course, Ohio State's quarterback, who was here at one point, right, for like a week or so. And then Jeremiah Love, the running back at Notre Dame. Speaking of Notre Dame, okay, this is my final point in the podcast, all right? It's kind of like a continuation of like the airing of grievances. So Notre Dame, they're not playing in a bowl game. They turned it down. Notre Dame is furious with the ACC, okay? And this is the statement that Notre Dame sent out. We were mystified by the actions of the conference to attack their biggest, really, partner in football and member in their conference in 24 of our other sports. That's what the AD said at Notre Dame. They have certainly done permanent damage to the relationship between the conference and Notre Dame. The first thing I thought, I was like, wait, what? We are mystified by the actions to attack their biggest partner in football. Notre Dame is not in the ACC. This is a weird relationship. Notre Dame is in the ACC for every single sport besides football and hockey, right? It's a weird relationship. The ACC responded. The University of Notre Dame is an incredibly valued member of the ACC. What? Every sport besides hockey and football. And there's tremendous aspects, and we have tremendous respect for Notre Dame as an institution. With that said, when it comes to football, we have a responsibility to support and advocate for all 17 of our football playing members, right? And I stand behind our conference efforts to do that leading up to the College Football Playoff Committee. So Notre Dame, they're not in the conference for football, but they wanted the ACC to like vouch for them over a team that's in the conference. And someone said this after this fight between Notre Dame and the ACC. And they just said, look, I have connections. That's all he said. They were like, Notre Dame is exiting the ACC in all sports and expect an announcement in January. That's like what the Twitter machine said. Look, Notre Dame, they became a villain. There's Lane Kiffin, there's Diego Pavia. We had a coach, we needed a player, and we got our team. And it's Notre Dame. Okay, those are like the three bad guys. And if you want to get even madder at Notre Dame, you should look up their football schedule for next year. These guys have an absolute cakewalk. That's why they don't want to join a conference. Okay, because they can handpick all these teams. Hey, you'll be on NBC. We'll play you. You can come up to South Bend, right? They have 3 away games next year. 4 if you include a trip where they go to play at Lambeau Stadium against Wisconsin. So 3 road games, okay? Look, the end result is this. Notre Dame join a conference, okay? Say you're sorry. Say that you acted out of, that you had a reactionary take to not making the playoffs because you had a great season. Say you're sorry to the committee. Say you're sorry to the ACC. Mean it. Marcus Freeman be like, you know what? We've had time to process this. We were a little bit hot. We didn't say the right things. We apologize. You know what? If there's still a bowl out there, we will play in that bowl. If not, that was our decision, and we made a mistake, but we want to rectify it. And we're going to take steps forward this year, and this is how we're going to take action. We are going to take action by joining the ACC in football and in hockey, okay? I don't even know if they have a hockey team. But we're going to join, and we're going to go all the way in, okay? So they're going to get down on one knee, and they're going to propose to the ACC. Will you marry her? And that's the way that, that people will accept them. If they take accountability, if they say they're sorry, and they have an action plan, okay? So join a conference, Notre Dame. We're waiting for you, okay? Stop being a narcissistic program. All right, fam. I hope you guys enjoyed Wake Up Bama right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I will be live again at 10 a.m. Central Time right here. Get inside the comment box. If you made it to this point in time, I want you to type the magic word for today is propose, okay? Let's see who made it. The magic word for today is propose. I love y'all. Have a beautiful start to this glorious day. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. See you on Bama Football on YouTube live, 10 a.m. Central Time, right here on Bama Football on YouTube.